Hello, everyone. Welcome to Next Big Future, and we're doing this jointly with Randy Kirk, as we often do. And I'm going to be going over my AI Game of Thrones um, perspective about what's happening with the world of AI. That things aren't happening slowly. I think they're happening very, very fast, and that timing matters. You can't just wait until robotaxi matures before you do a merger. Um, any quick comments before I roll into my deck?
Yeah, well, I did. I think it was on Moonshots yesterday. They were talking about the fact that, years ago, you could have a timeline as a company, of 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. You could kind of predict where markets would be, et cetera. And then maybe starting a couple of years ago, that timeline came down to like a year. And they're saying now that timeline is like 3 months. That by the time you put up a new product or service, in the case of AI, the competition has already got one ready to go that they throw at you within days or weeks. So it has really changed, as you point out, it has really changed the dynamicism, of at least that industry, and it's probably going to impact other industries as well.
So for me, things have changed day to day based on what's happened like this week. So let me go first frame it so people understand how I'm talking about things. So it's not just that we're going for AGI and stuff like that. There's an AI Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones TV show where you would fight for the Iron Throne to control everything, and that be life and death struggle in order to see who wins the battles of what's going on. And I'm saying that the SpaceX Tesla merger is critical, and the time matters. Waiting around a year until something happens with the robotaxi is not one was not going to happen, and it's a really really bad plan, right? Um, and already there's been engagement on this Game of Thrones in order beating OpenAI and Anthropic. So I'll go over that framing so people have understanding what I'm talking about here.
Okay, and you've taken out, you don't have Google or Microsoft in that Game of Thrones.
Google's part of the Game of Thrones too,
Okay.
right? That was the original move, was when Elon and Google were friends, and
Mhm.
Google was going to be the one dominating all of AI. So Elon then created OpenAI as a opposed reaction to it,
Mhm.
but then he got betrayed by Sam Altman and Brockman, and then to take over. So it was there was even earlier, Game of Thrones type action, like, and also you had the board battle trying to push out Sam, right? So there's all this intrigue. I didn't want to go back into all
Right,
that, but it was even more Game of Thrones actions of the tech leaders trying to control what's happening
right.
with AI AGI.
Mhm.
That the ultimate prize is you are the ultimate winner of
Mhm.
AI. Settling for second prize of a highly valuable, I control all the AI data centers is nice and profitable, but it is far less than I have the frontier model too, and I control all the energy,
Right.
right? Um, so the more recent engagement, not going back into all that other stuff, and be
Yes,
like a
yes,
book talking
yes.
about all the battles from
Right.
before, which are well known, right?
Mhm.
So the update of the current aspect is Elon pushed OpenAI's IPO into next year, right? He was planning, he was wanting to get, Sam Altman was trying to get to an IPO this year, right? And how do you push into next year? One, by being first with XAI and SpaceX and sucking up the money. And oh, look, the price is going down. The price is going down, but it prevented Sam Altman from, oh, the market is not good enough to support three big IPOs, right? Ours, Anthropic, OpenAI, Anthropic, and SpaceX XAI, right? The markets couldn't absorb it, right? Which anyone who's been looking closely at the SpaceX XAI can see that that is what has happened. Do you agree that that is what happened?
Yeah, so I think that SpaceX was largely responsible for pushing them into 2027, but I think they've been looking at their numbers, and I think they realize that their profits, I'm sorry, their massive losses, and the speed with which they're eating through their cash flow or their cash, that maybe their IPO wouldn't have done well this year, and that they need another year to get closer to profitability or closer to free cash flow, and also to prove that they can spend the money wisely. Because right now, I, I mean, I don't like OpenAI anyway, but looking at their numbers, I wouldn't invest with them in a million years.
To that point, they had about 40 billion, $38 billion of cash burn and losses last year. They
Right.
still have $14 billion of losses this year. They had $13 billion of revenue last year and about $24 billion of revenue this year. For all the people who say, well, um, XAI, SpaceX, they don't have enough revenue and profits. They only had, less than $19 billion last year. $19 billion more than $13 billion. I'm pretty sure my math is good enough to confirm that, right? And then they had $5 billion in losses versus $38 billion in losses, right? XAI, SpaceX had $5 billion losses.
Right.
And now this year we have $28 billion of AI data center rental run rate,
Right.
right? And I think 28 billion is more than 24, right? And then also um, we have Cursor now, and they have $4 billion run rate on AI and doubling every 5, 6 months, right? And hopefully
Mhm.
it's doubling faster, right? So $33 billion versus 24, 50% more AI revenue, and not including some additional Grok and other revenue there. So and um, OpenAI and Anthropic are at the $1 trillion, roughly, or just under $1 trillion valuations, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So, people talk about, the valuations don't make sense. You have to look at the comparables of what we're talking about here. Um, so we can go a lot more into that detail, but just,
Sure. Sure.
I want to lay that in there that this is what
Mhm.
we're talking
Mhm.
about,
Right.
that the AI prize is bigger than anything, bigger than robotaxi. I can go over into more details about that after I do an update of what's happened this week in this battle to get more gigawatts, battle to get more data centers, and other stuff. Because to your point about how fast things are changing, I have to go through like 8, 10 slides to go over how fast this has changed just this week.
Okay.
Moves that Elon has made that will impact how many gigawatts he'll have. Okay, and then SpaceX, Tesla faster to AGI. Adding a gigawatt can be $100 billion. So for people who don't know, the $11 billion per year from Google was for 110,000 chips, right? 110,000 chips from a 550,000 Blackwell GPU Colossus 2, right? So that Colossus 2 has about a gigawatt powered up, right? So 20% of that gigawatt went for $11 billion per year.
Mhm.
That is the signed contract price. That is what they will be paying, right? So
Mhm.
that means if you did the full gigawatt, that's $50 billion per year per gigawatt,
Mhm.
right? That is that price. I'm not making it up. That's what it is, right?
Right.
That's what the other guys are paying,
Right.
right? Anthropic did the deal for $15 billion, a mix of H100 hoppers and some Blackwells, right? 30,000 in Colossus 1, 95,000 elsewhere for the 15 billion. You break that down, you still have the $50 billion per year from the Blackwells that they got, 120,000 of them,
Mhm.
and you got another $20 billion per gigawatt from the H100s.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. But then when you get to Rubin chips, you're going to go up to $100 billion or more,
Mhm.
right? One, they cost more, they need use more power, but you're going to get up to that about $100 billion per year, right? So every gigawatt you have monetizes very well. They've already proven that monetization at a rate of $28 billion. That is 30% of all Tesla revenue, right?
Right.
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 So something from zero in January is now
Today.
30% of all Tesla revenue,
Right.
right? So the speed with which this action is happening is insane. If they chose to, I'm not going to be doing my own frontier model. I'm just a renter,
Yeah.
right? They could rent out the entire Colossus data center and have another um, $30 billion per year.
Wow.
They could double up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
At $60 billion per year, that and plus the $20 billion you get from space, you're at $80 billion, right?
Hmm.
And you have a substantial margin. You are essentially Broadcom, right? Broadcom made 60, $65 billion last year, 40, $50 billion of operating margin profit, or something like that. And then this year they're at 80 some billion, right? And Broadcom's worth in the range of 2 trillion,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And they have chips and all that kind of stuff. So for people who say, well, you can't get the valuation of SpaceX XAI to that, we're already saying that they're in many ways better than OpenAI at their trillion,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And then you were saying that the other part, can be the 2 trillion, right?
Right.
So, you know, the comparables in the tech space are there. Anyway, also the question also, can they work together, merge versus a joint venture to
Hmm.
terafab faster?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
terafabs is chips, and if terafab was to make, 1 million wafers per month of memory, right? They'd be like bigger than Micron.
Right.
Micron's also worth about like trillion five,
Right.
right?
Right.
So this is the AI money we're talking about. And that's before you get to, hundreds of gigawatts, right? Uh,
Before you get to data centers in space.
right, if you get into data in space. But there's a lot happening on the ground right now. People say,
Right.
oh, things are happening on the ground right now. Let me go over what's happening on the ground right now. Okay. Um, so one, this is the Blackwell working off the numbers to get to how valuable they are based on tokens, right?
Hmm.
So then you can get to, if you are the frontier model, the Blackwell Rubens and stuff like that can have a valuation of 300 to $500 billion per year. Okay,
Hmm.
so those are the things that can happen. I don't want to say go too much into that, but just like I have more data to support my claim to how valuable these things are. I'm just talking about the rental, not talking about if you have a frontier model, right? So
Right.
again,
I think you might have just misspoken. I might have heard it wrong, but it's 30 billion to 50 billion. I think you said 300 to 500, but I just want to, I
so
could be,
300 to 500 for Ruben.
oh, for Ruben. Okay. So you're
Ruben. So
estimating.
so the Blackwell's first at
Got
the
it.
50 billion,
Got it. Okay.
right? And then Ruben is the next chip, which are
Ah,
being made now
got it.
and will
Okay.
be in volume, and which um, SpaceX has a 20%
Ah,
allocation of,
yes. Yes.
right? So I'm talking about stuff that, hey, the VCs have said that they got 20% of it.
Right.
NVIDIA Jensen's going to give it to Elon
Right.
because Jensen wants the things powered up.
Right.
It's no good for Jensen, even though he gets $30 billion by selling someone a bunch of chips that go into a warehouse that can't be powered up,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Because
Right.
also they probably wouldn't even take it. It's like, hey, my building's not ready. I can't really take it,
Right.
right? So he
Right.
signed the contract, and it's a understanding you can take it. He's only going to say, okay, are you ready to put these in?
Hmm.
I will now deliver those to you,
Hmm.
right? Because I want them operating. Um, Also, to the point that people kept saying NVIDIA makes the most money, NVIDIA is the only one profitable. But we now know it's NVIDIA and Micron and all the other memory guys, right?
Hmm.
And the rental stuff is also very profitable, right? So there's more of the stack that's profitable. And where the money is, $30 billion for the Blackwell chips
Hmm.
that, if fully rented at Colossus 2, would be $50 billion per year.
Hmm.
So again, $50 billion per year is more than $30 billion one time.
Hmm.
Okay. So more money, more monetization on this rental side, more money if you actually go direct based on how actually being able to sell the tokens.
Right.
Okay. So some news this week, today, yesterday, that had broken. Um, Elon supposedly bought the assets of Florida, Jacksonville. I think it's Jacksonville, Florida. Maybe it's another Jacksonville. APR Energy, according to FTC filing. So they have these natural gas turbines, right? And so there was this concern, hey, GE, all the big natural gas turbine makers, we don't have enough natural gas turbines. In our previous discussions, I've indicated, hey, they have 12 388 megawatt natural gas turbines coming from South Korea, Doosan.
Hmm.
Doosan Energy makes turbines too, not just
Hmm.
GE. And then Elon has 12 of them on order, two which should be delivered this year. Um, three of them is, if you have three, you have over a gigawatt,
Hmm.
right? You have 1.2 gigawatts
Hmm.
of power,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And then he also has a joint venture with a division of Caterpillar where it's
Hmm.
50-50, where
Hmm.
he gets their supply, but a gigawatt per capacity production over the next 2, 3 years of mobile turbines,
Hmm.
looking similar in size to these things, but different stuff. He already has 400 megawatts from them, and he's getting another, gigawatt or so next 3 years. He gets 60 to 70% of their production capacity,
Hmm. Okay.
right? So now he's bought APR Energy. So these machines here, which I'm more about. So they have hundreds of megawatts deployed, maybe like a gigawatt deployed, Australia, Puerto Rico, these units. And then they talk about a bridge power for 850 megawatts or more. Um, so, so they have this electricity. So these are um, variations of uh, jet engine type systems.
Hmm.
So they're taking GE systems, right, and then wrapping them around with this these other components so they can deliver the power, right?
I
It's a
see.
tiny, it's the GE and APR, so they're combined to do burn natural gas. So they're applying it and being able to do stuff. But what's exciting about these guys is that they can install in 30 to 90 days. Okay. So not years. Oh,
Yeah.
turbine,
Yeah.
natural gas turbines,
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
39 days. Full power in under 15 minutes, 30 days, 90 days to deliver, install, and commission. And maybe they can do faster.
Right.
They get 20 to 35 megawatts of power rating per unit, right?
So Brian, maybe I'm going to get ahead of you here, but what I'm hearing is that Elon has been acquiring massive amounts of energy capacity,
Yes.
which right now is blocked by turbines primarily.
Yeah.
Finding the natural gas is not an issue. It'll be behind the paywall for the utilities, so there's no problem with starting it up. So the fact that we hear from the VCs that Elon gets 20%, 22% is the number I heard of the NVIDIA chips is kind of confirmed by the fact that he's lining up all these turbines
Yeah.
because he's not the kind of guy that's going to line up the turbines and not put them to use.
That's right. So that's looking like, we're heading to like 3 gigawatts of
Wow.
power next year.
Wow.
So we have the 6 gigawatts in the next 3 years, right? And now, if he owns this company, puts a little bit more money into it, right? He could bump their production, right? And he's taking what are essentially, I'm assuming within the box, is something like jet engines, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So GE, makes most of the, them and a few other companies, like um, Pratt Whitney and stuff like that, make the engine that go onto airplanes. So
Right.
you make about 1,000, 2,000 big passenger jets per year,
Hmm.
four engines on each, you're looking at 4,000
Hmm.
engines,
Hmm.
right? So you take some of those engines, increase the jet engine capacity, right? And then you put it with the rest of the stuff, and then you can make thousands of jet engines that are made into power generation things. Jet engines don't have the turbine issues as much. It's a separate thing that they're doing there, right? Because they don't necessarily have. Well, I think it's less a different supply chain, right?
Okay.
Even
Okay.
if it is the same blade issue needing to be one crystal thing, it's clearly different supply chain and potentially faster, right?
Okay.
Um, so then traditional power plant 5+ years, their solution 2 to 3 months. Okay, scalable to 500 megawatts, right? So you can do 25,
Right.
which would be one, and then you do like 10 of these things, you get 250, you got 20, you have 500 megawatts, right? So 20 of these things, 500 megawatts. Let's look back at that picture again. How many we got here? We got five.
Hmm.
That's like 125 megawatts right
Hmm.
there.
Mm.
right? I do 10 out of 250, right? So how many do you think we can make there, right?
Right. Right.
Um, so scalable 20 to 500 megawatts. And then less space than a diesel power plant, right?
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
also two-thirds the space. I could shove more of them into the same location. So that's a deal that just came out of nowhere, right? So, but Elon has tapped into all of that. So another power deal is that he did the Sunrun Energy deal, right? So that was 16 gigawatts of virtual power plant, right? So solar already installed on people's houses
Hmm.
by Sunrun,
Hmm.
right? 16 gigawatts, and then Renew Power, smart meters, I think a spinoff of Google or something like that. And then they're all partners on 16 gigawatts of power. So that's 16 gigawatts of power, 4 gigawatts of batteries. They can sell more Powerwalls to this stuff, right? So why does that matter? One, it's some nice money. It's maybe $500 million per year, maybe $1 billion per year for each of those three partners.
Mm.
It was enough to move Sunrun's stock by 20%.
Mm.
So he got Sunrun to work with him on this and where they all make money. He didn't have to pay them, he didn't have to buy them. It's just, we're going to make money together. And then Elon will have more influence over the dispatchable power,
Hmm.
right? So there's different kinds of power. There's firm power of power plants like the one we just did,
Right.
right? Bigger ones, right? Firm power, right?
Hmm.
Delivering 50% on natural gas, 9% on nuclear. But then there's the softer power, right? The solar on the ground, the batteries, that can deliver power. Like there are people who are working to deliver um, AI data centers only with solar, right? Or 80% solar, same with solar, and then a little bit of natural gas, right?
Hmm.
So you have enough solar, you can especially get a inference AI data center up
Right.
where I'm not needing as much consistent power. I just need like,
Hmm. Hmm.
40, 50% power, right? I can get another gigawatt of that. And how much they're implementing here? 16 gigawatts, right? But how much of, like, besides doing other deals with the other players in the solar area of the United States, of which, there's probably another 100 to 200 gigawatts of power available there, right? Not just, the ones that Elon has installed,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But we're going to be making a solar power plant, a solar factory to make 50 gigawatts of solar
Right.
from Tesla,
Right.
right? 50 gigawatts of solar from SpaceX, right? That
Hmm.
doubled to 100 gigawatts, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we have megapacks from Lathrop, 40 gigawatt hours per year. And then the Texas facility coming up, that'll be like 80 gigawatts. So massive control shaping the grids of the world, right? So how much direct control will he have of the solar? He'd be building the solar. He's doing deals where he's making money with the solar companies. He's making money with the utilities. They have auto bidder.
Hmm. Hmm.
People forget about that one, where basically he's helping in the bidding process. So he has real-time information, better than probably even the utilities, of where the power is, where do I need to add more um, virtual power
Hmm.
in order to free up the end result of more AI data center quality power,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because if remember, he was doing the master plan part three. He was also showing that with enough battery, you can double the available
Right.
power,
Right.
right? So yes, he's doubling the available power. Well, I think everyone can get the power, right? But he's first in knowing I just freed up power right here, or I
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
get my virtual power here so that, hey, now Tennessee Valley Authority, give me another
Hmm.
150
Hmm.
megawatts, give me a gigawatt of power at
Right.
that location,
Right.
right? So he's in the whole stack and he's influencing the stack and shaping the direction where he's making 100 gigawatts or more of power available,
Right.
right? But he knows location by location in real time, like microsecond by microsecond, what the bids are for the power and exactly what the condition of the grid is, right? Yeah.
And so basically what I think think you're saying is that on the one hand, he's creating power
Mhm.
behind the meter,
Behind the meter. Yeah.
but he's also saving power, or in the case of virtual power centers, he's taking advantage of power that's there that's being wasted. So in various different ways, he can go to a community, a city, a region, a state, and say, look, I need this much energy, but it's not going to impact the ratepayer because I'm going to show you where you get this much more energy.
Mhm.
So the ratepayer is going to pay the same or less, and so there'll be nothing to complain about.
Right. He'll improve the stability
Right,
so that the quality can be given. He'll increase the supply, right? And activate what is, you know, inefficiently used,
right.
right? That you have solar, you have a power wall, the power sitting there, he
Hmm.
unlocks it.
Hmm.
He can also unlock vehicles to grid,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So we have, 4 million vehicles in the United States, each with, let's say, 50 kilowatts of
Hmm.
power,
Hmm.
right? So that is like 4 million times 50, I think like 200 um, the, gigawatts. Let me just think. Um, 4 million. Yeah, I think like 200 gigawatts of power there, something like that,
Right.
right? I don't think quite right. Let me just do the numbers again.
Think you're
For
right. Think you're right.
Anyway, a lot of power,
Yes.
right? And then he can increase that more and more with the 50,000 semi trucks.
Hmm. Hmm.
That each one with a megawatt, that's 50 gigawatts, right? So I think that's definitely right because it's we're tossing in those amount of gigawatts of battery power, right?
Right.
So the unlocking all those capacities, all those pools of power, right? And no one else can compete because he's the biggest
Right.
car company.
Right.
He's one of the biggest, battery producers in the world. Took us what, 5 years, 10 years to get to this point, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then so the virtual power plant deal, 16 gigawatts. Within 2 years, he's in the 50 to 150 gigawatt range in for virtual power plant, right?
Right.
And then he's moving that power around to free up, like a lot of power on the ground, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
he's going to be the one saying, here's where I can grab more gigawatts of power. And it's worldwide. So we also signed a deal, letter of intent, to build Green Turtle, Europe's largest battery storage project in Belgium, 700 megawatts, a 2,800 megawatt hour facility. Use mega block tech and supply chain to the daily electricity needs for 385,000 homes. So he's operating globally on
Hmm.
these
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
He built more buildings, Colossus 1, Colossus 2. He's applied for the permits to build buildings. Another 750,000 square feet building at Colossus 1 for
Hmm.
$249 million. Um, so that is another warehouse for $5 million for 500,000 square feet. How big is Colossus 2? About 1 million square feet,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So he's adding, more building, 750,000 plus 500,000, 1.25 million square
Hmm.
feet of building, more than, just a little bit of money to the building. So you have the power, buildings are easy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Right.
Power infrastructure there too. Um, and then cost us another $250 million, expanding the cooling capacity because you have the power, you also have to be able to cool it. So
Hmm.
he's expanding that. So these things are expanding, right? And then this is, where you have macro harder, which is Colossus
Hmm.
2, in that area. And you're adding more buildings around it and making the expansions happen. Um, Also, there's issues of memory. People think, oh, there's only the terafab. Until he gets that going, he can't get memory.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's a bunch of news announcements how CXMT, China's memory supplier, is getting competitive with their high bandwidth memory with the other three big players, Micron, Samsung, and SK Hynix,
Hmm.
right? So Elon can tap into that SXMT memory for building data centers in China.
Hmm.
We have a data center with Tesla in China. So Elon has that permission to do that, right? And he can use the local supply. So if I can't get supply from Micron or
Hmm.
Samsung or whatever. But he will get supply from them, right?
Right. Of course it will. Yes.
But
Yes.
he can tap into other supply that others can't, or
Mm-hmm.
can't as easily, because he's operating in China and
Right.
building data centers there. And getting permits to do that is not easy.
Hmm. Hmm.
He also did a deal on satellite for space, um, where he's talking about doing a deal with Charter, a big cable company, also does stuff with phones and that kind of stuff, where they would wholesale, um, do spectrum subleasing and do other deals in urban areas. This would, simplifying it, this will help get direct to cell phone
Hmm.
into cities,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? The gap filler, it provides extra capacity. So again, he's monetizing his direct to cell phone capability, getting into urban areas. Um, yeah. So then, Aaron Burnett, Mach 33, is talking about how this is a filler, how this is a density gap move. So he's making moves. Then there's also been rumors about a mobile phone that they'll do
Hmm.
themselves.
Hmm.
Um, Other thing was following up on the Starfall. So
Right.
this is showing a picture of them recovering it from the sea. So it came back
Mm.
from orbit,
Hmm.
or near orbit, and then landed in the ocean. Parachutes, the heat shield, the parachutes worked. They got it, and recovered it.
Wow.
Um, this is a Mechazilla launch tower component
Mm.
at Kennedy Space Center, Launch Center 37. So this is getting to more launch towers that can launch starships. The
Hmm.
more launch tower you have, another 40 launches of Starship, another 100 launches, 200 launches of Starship by having more launch towers. And this is
Hmm.
at NASA. Kennedy is, if I'm not, is also in Florida, right? So you
Right.
have
Right.
Vandenberg in California, you
Right.
have Cape Canaveral in Florida, you have Kennedy in Florida as well. Okay, so more launch towers, more ability to launch Starship. Um, anyway, so there was a combined financial strength. I'm not sure how much we went over this. That the $100 billion in cash is something that Elon will be able to use quickly. Like those deals I just listed above, that's like I think less than $1 billion,
Mm.
right? So he's very capital efficient,
Right.
obviously, and also um, the deal with Sunrun, that was actually not using capital,
Okay.
that was
Right.
making money,
Right. Right.
right? So $144 billion, more money for AI. So that's why you want to merge together. You want to have this stuff work together. In terms of the vote, I think it's going to happen. They'll offer the deal. I'm expecting 1 to 2 months, like either July or August. That is
Mm.
my estimate of when they'll announce that they're going to merge.
Okay.
And for people discussing the price,
Hmm.
if you have offer more, where you're going to get a 20% bump in um, Tesla stock, right, from just shy of 400 now up to like 480, right?
Hmm.
You're basically near all-time highs at that point,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
You're in the range where we haven't been there before. So
Right.
that means for 90%, 95% of Tesla shareholders, by offering at about the all-time high, everyone else bought lower. It's
Right.
like, do you want more money? Vote on it, right? So people say, oh, it has to be 600, it's got to be 800, it's got to be 1,000, right? For most of the more casual um, Tesla shareholders, it's you're 400. Do you want an extra $80 per share,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
A lot of people can vote yes on that, right? And then Elon has 20%. He has 6% more than when we had like 70% of most other votes. Before he had 14% of the shares, but now he has another 6%, so he has 20%. So that means if everyone voted the same, he'd be 76%, right? Because he got
Hmm.
another 6%, right? But you know, even if we lost 10% of retail, right, we're at 66%, it will still pass. Retail is 40%, right?
Right.
So the deal is going to pass. You know, you're going to have to be disappointed that Elon only gave you an extra $80 or something, right? So, I don't know, it's going to pass. What can I say? And it's going to be
Yeah.
good for you, right?
Yeah.
You're going to make a lot more money. The opening ideal about how they were losing money, how much cash they have, that pushing them out a year was a huge deal, right? Because
Right.
otherwise they would have IPO'd. they would have been able to raise a bit more money, say another 100 billion. They can still raise a lot of money privately, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But then they can't do deals as well. If you have public shares, you can do cursor-like deals more easily, right? Because I'm going
Right.
to give you publicly traded
Hmm.
shares
Hmm.
to do this stuff. And the IPO market's hard. Grok money has come out, right? So
Right.
that's rolling out now. So I put that into a line. Hey, X payments, X money is going to be there, and in this year, and now this is coming out. They're doing a 6% um, promotional deal where you can
Hmm.
put in and get 6% you know interest on your money for however
Right.
long they offer that, right?
Hmm.
And you'll be able to buy stuff, manage your budget better. They'll work in other Grok features on managing your money, right? So this is something where other people, other AI, Perplexity and and um, Anthropic or ChatGPT could offer this kind of service, but by having X payments, um, X can monetize this better,
Hmm.
right? Because someone else would have to do a deal with PayPal, and then PayPal gets the actual money coming into the account and get the fees, right? And then someone else gets some service stuff. Because
Hmm.
you're vertically integrated, you get more money
Hmm.
out of this thing, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then if you were to get to a substantial scale, right? So the niche play, you can also get to WeChat, where you're doing all your payments through it. Whereas like I'm on my phone, and just like Apple Money, I'm paying for stuff, and all my transactions are going through there. One, that's financial data, right? But
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
two, actually making money on the fees, helping you pay for something,
Sure.
right? The other players, about 100 million for Venmo, 60 million for Block, hundreds of millions of people accounts in PayPal. And you got Zelle, Apple Pay, and stuff like that, right? How quickly will the roughly billion users of X convert? Would it be 10%? That'd be 100 million. That would be Venmo size, right? And that'd be billions of dollars of money. So you have some comment about that?
Yeah, so I think on the one hand, the offer to pay 6% on your savings is certainly a good one. It's above money market.
Mm,
But the other thing he's offering is 3% cash back on your purchases.
right.
So nobody's even close to that number, and I don't know how the credit cards could come in and compete with a 3% back on your cash on all of your purchases.
Right.
So at least initially, maybe they're willing to lose money, or maybe he's got a way to make money even doing that. But it looks like this would be a no-brainer for people to at least add it. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like I have PayPal, but I don't have Venmo.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids and grandkids, some of them, use Venmo. I just haven't wanted one more thing. But if they all of a sudden wanted to pay me 6% on the savings and 3% on all my purchases, I think I'd have Venmo. Yeah.
Right. Have X money. That's right.
Yeah.
Um, so then, you know, TSNBC talked about the IPO window closing. So Elon getting out there in the Game of Thrones to get out there faster with the IPO was a huge win
Right.
on that. And it goes to things have to happen faster in this battle, right? And you have all these deals up ahead. Um, People concerned about the fact that they were saying a year ago the US had 70% of all tokens, but then now it's down to 30, a little over 30%, and that
Wow.
China's gotten 50% of the
Hmm.
token because they're offering for free. They
Hmm.
have open source things they're offering for free,
Right.
right? So people can say, well, this is the end of the world. But in this same 1 year time period, Anthropic went from, you know, $5 billion per year to $50 billion per year,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So the monetization is happening on the US side, right?
Right.
So it's like um, for cell phones, where 80% of the phones were produced by, cheap China
Right.
phones,
Right.
and then, 20% were Apple,
Right.
right? But Apple made 89% of the profits,
Right.
right?
Well, for a while they were making 110%.
Right. That's right. Similar thing for cars, right?
Hmm.
Ooh, Tesla's only 20% of all cars sold,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But then the 80%, oh, the 6% is China, BYD and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of profitability,
Right.
again, 80% of the profits are in Tesla,
Right.
right? Um, Everyone else is losing. BYD may be making money, maybe not. Maybe they're playing games on that. Um, so then also on the AI side, 2 million Tesla units, 2 million Tesla cars for digital Optimus. If you have 10 simulated humans on AI4
Mm,
chips,
mm,
right? That could monetize to $800 billion per year once you have it fully deployed. The key step here, you have the cars, you can make the software to digital Optimus. You have to then convert into enterprise sales on
mhm,
that
mhm.
for the customer service, whatever other end you're doing. Plus, you have to launch it, right? But
Right.
it's the money is in the AI and the stuff where you're doing it faster than robotaxi, right? Um, so one, the TAM is bigger, even when you run the numbers that CERN has run for how big the TAM is for these things. Um, I won't go into detail about that. Um, but we, sometime do another video where you can do that comparison.
Mhm,
Here's CERN's numbers again on robotaxi. So the 1 million robotaxi line, right? Out in 65% utilization, so a pretty good utilization rate.
mhm,
You're at $40 billion of net income. So maybe $50 million of revenue,
mhm,
right? That is less than, or equal to 1 gigawatt of Blackwell rental.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
And how hard will it be to get to 1 million? How
mhm,
long will that take,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Versus doing gigawatt of deals, throwing it up in a year,
Right.
right? Multiple gigawatts, right? And the balance sheet being together, Elon will be able to use that money better. He'll do these deals and then, be talking together 10 the gigawatts and having huge deals.
Mhm, mhm,
It'll be harder to merge after antitrust. If if Tesla is also an AI with Optimus, with robotaxi, with megapods, right?
mhm,
And SpaceX and XAI are deep, deep, deep into AI, right? Then you're in the same business versus I'm in cars, you're in space, I'm in whatever, right? Antitrust comes up because now we're doing the same thing, right? And you're concentrating power, right? So antitrust risks increase, and then you can't merge later, right? If the antitrust is that clear? You seem
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I haven't done a deep dive into the antitrust laws, but we did study it, when I was at law school. Um, there certainly is there's scrutiny when two companies are in the same business that are trying to merge.
mhm,
I don't know that it's really antitrust scrutiny as much as it is just it's like, okay, this could be a problem in terms of a future antitrust issue. But I don't think that this rises to the level that because there's so many other people in the business. That's always the other consideration.
mhm,
If you want to merge United Airlines and Delta,
mhm,
you know, well, that's would seem like it could be an antitrust problem, except that there's 75 other airlines out there
mhm.
competing. So
Yeah,
then it lowers the temperature of any concern. But that's not to say that I think that the risks are easier before the midterms, even though we're starting to look like maybe the Republicans are going to do just fine in the midterms. There's still a very good risk that the Dems do take over. And then we'll be talking about congressional hearings and all kinds of other things that they'll just throw up as smokescreens
that's right.
just to slow it down.
Yeah, so the political environment would
Yep.
change.
Yep.
So I don't think, this is not a major argument of mine because um, I think it all happens in the next few months anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
So this will be irrelevant. It's just for the people making the case of like, let's
Mhm.
wait 2 years
Right.
to
Right.
do this thing. Let's take 3 years. In 3 years, the presidential election could be lost, and then
Right.
this entirely changes. And then
Right.
how easy would be for Elon to get anything passed.
Right.
Um, and then it's tough to move the needle for Tesla financially.
Yeah.
There's FSD, there's YL. I'm super optimistic around things. These numbers are, some of the best case things I can see, right? Where we're at, $96 billion here, maybe go to 127 billion. That is a high number for
Yeah.
2026, right?
Yeah.
Getting more cars, more energy, more service, getting to 127 billion, that's tough, right? And getting to 230 some billion, if robotaxi takes off, rentals and everything. This is like giving the benefit of the doubt and everything, right? And then if I just have a few hundred, like 5 gigawatts of power, that could be $500 billion right there, right? So additional 5 gigawatts of power,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
like so much has to happen for this, Tesla thing to be better than, especially combined, SpaceX and Tesla. And then it'd be 10% less drag on Elon in terms of like, worrying about, what's the legal thing? How do I prevent a lawsuit?
Right.
How do you do the pricing? The team has to execute on stuff, decisions have to be made, even though you're working pretty close hand in glove joint venture partnership. There
Mhm.
is additional drag on it. This governance board meetings,
Right.
there's IP sharing, all
Mhm.
these things.
Mhm.
And then you can make seamless new products together. Starlink in every vehicle more easily.
Mhm.
Starlink for robotaxi and FSD.
Mhm.
Starlink
Mhm.
GPS. The Starlink, the newest dishes have location from Starlink that doesn't need the GPS that is normally in there.
Right.
So they took that out because they had that capability. They have full GPS capability in their 10,000 satellites up there.
Right.
Common compute. It would be easy now, what you have a merged thing for Colossus 2, Colossus 3, Colossus 4, which is 10 times bigger than what Cortex is,
Mhm.
for them to use the same facilities. You can
Mhm.
increase your utilization rate, from 40, 50% up to 70%. And then you have bigger training runs, faster training runs, all that kind of stuff. You just can use the resources better. Go ahead.
Yeah, so also on that moonshot program yesterday, which was absolutely fascinating. It was probably one of the best ones they've ever done. They had the guy, I think the name of the company is Earth.
I think in the Plant Labs or
Humps.
either the planet
The,
or
the,
the
the
Earth.
ones that have all the like 40 or 80, I forget, satellites up
I
there.
think it's Plant Labs.
Plant labs. Okay, plant labs. And they're doing like tons and
Earth
tons of data
observation. Yeah.
observation of the Earth. Well, Tesla also has a bunch of satellites up there that have cameras that are doing observation of Earth. So this creates real world data, which combined with the real world data that they have exclusively almost with regard to cars and robots, the amount of real world data helping the two companies get to AGI is incredible.
Mhm. That's right. Um, yeah. So the data sharing, the energy, the financial, all these things play together for winning AI. This is more of the Sunrun thing, the Megapod. Yeah. And then I've had previous analysis about the rental rates and how that's a huge money. Do you want me to go over that again about that?
No, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
We've done that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think the key that you're trying, if I understand this one right, um, let's see, 9 months ago, Brian Wang was the only guy in the country talking about data centers in space. You were talking about them on Mars.
Mhm.
So even you didn't predict that they would be on satellites, but
Mhm.
now we've got that, and everybody pretty much agrees now. This is a no-brainer.
Mhm.
Same moonshots show yesterday. No, we've been radiating energy off of satellites for years and years. It's not a problem. It's not going to be an issue. So we've got that complete new business 9 months in 9 months, 9 months ago.
Mhm. Mhm.
3 months ago, nobody thought that SpaceX was going to be in the business of renting out data centers.
Mhm.
Now, all of a sudden, we're not only talking about renting out data centers, and we have a massive amount of money coming in from doing that. We're talking about Elon having what you just did. Elon Musk, through both companies, has all the tools necessary, the entire stack. Oh, was there a book? Oh, yeah. Oh, AI Rising. Oh, yeah. Oh, we were not a little bit ahead of our time. We were totally ahead of our time in talking about the importance of the whole stack. Now, Elon had said it, he who has the most compute wins. But the AI stack is necessary in order to get all that compute. You got to have the raw materials. You've got to have the energy. You've got to have the locations. You've got to have the chips. You've got to have and now we know we have to have the memory.
Mhm.
Who knew that a few months ago is that we would have a memory problem. So your initial statement was everything is changing. really, really fast. You said it's changing weekly. I think you just proved it.
Mhm.
And who knows what we'll be looking at 3 weeks from now. But I say all that to say this. You got a guy over here who makes these kind of predictions all the time, and maybe he can do the same thing with your finances. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm not making any guarantees, and history is absolutely no guarantee of future success
Mhm.
or something like that. Is that how
That's
it goes,
right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there'll be play a little link down here in the information on both of our videos where you can just take a link, go over there, sign up. Brian will give you a call, and he's got some, I think, really, really clever, very, very interesting ideas that I don't think very many other people are talking about. If
Let
you're,
me just make one
yeah,
correction
yeah.
on
Oh, a
this thing.
correction. Okay.
Yeah, is that I wrote articles and videos about data centers on Mars with SpaceX a year before our chapter
Oh,
in the book,
okay.
right?
All
So
right.
the book came out in October. We were
Right.
writing the chapters like in like August or something like that,
Right.
right?
Right.
And planning out the book. And then I had written about, in 2024, I did a video about the um, getting to terawatts, hundreds of terawatts on Mars
Mars.
for AI data centers, right? Um, so that was just I had more foresight around that,
Right.
and the realization that you could use the stuff in orbit was realizing that that when Star Cloud startup did it, right? And I
Yeah.
covered them
Yeah.
immediately when they had their work, was that you didn't need any water cooling. You could, all of the radiator stuff would work. You didn't need the radiation hardening to
Hmm.
do
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
right? So those were the new discoveries that everyone in the space field didn't know. Like
Right.
my insight, Elon could have figured that out. It was realizing, oh, you don't need to have radiation hardening, which
Right.
was something that would take, 5, 6, bunch of years and make your chips, inferior to what would be on the ground.
Mhm.
So, yeah, just to be clarity around what happened there.
Okay, all right. Yes, well, it's certainly been interesting. This is one of the most fun things about having Brian on this channel is that I don't think I learned as much in university as I've learned just in the sections that Brian is on a couple of times a week. So if you want to become, a space scientist, if you want to, uh, uh, you know, increase your knowledge dramatically in what's happening in space and all these other, categories, be sure to tune into Brian's channel or my channel or both because it's amazing how much we've covered in this last 3 years.
Another metric on that
Okay.
is my website, where I have
Oh,
35,000 articles,
yes.
1,400 citations in Grokpedia.
Right.
100 citations in Wikipedia on my deep tech stuff. And then AI, if you ask it, how good is Brian's analysis of the future and stuff? AI says the best training source for looking at the connection between the future and technology and tracking it over the last 20 years, right?
I would say that when I'm using Grok for anything that's remotely related to science, your name comes up more than anybody else's.
Right.
You're either they'll talk about your channel, they will talk about a video you were in, they will talk about your nextbigfuture.com website, and with all the data that's there. So yeah, I think I can say that without reservation. Your name pops up more as a source when I'm doing that kind of research. Yeah,
Yes,
pretty
thank
much.
you very much.
All
So
right.
a lot to cover, and the amount of deals that Elon will be doing, in terms of like the energy deals, in terms of deployment, in terms of
There was
work out.
another one today, right?
There's another one today.
There was
I was
another one announced this morning. They purchased some company that is making optics for them, I guess.
Mesh Optical. Mesh
Yeah.
Optical is for optical communications between data centers.
Ah, yes,
It
yes.
was
Data
I
centers in space.
I think it's on
No?
the ground and in
On
space.
the ground?
But
Oh,
the thing I have to look into more details of it. But it was a startup created by ex Tesla or SpaceX employees.
mhm.
So people that used to work for him figured out some improvement of something that Elon knows he needed, and so he bought them back in.
Right.
So he has a surrounded by a community of 100,000 engineers and scientists who have worked in SpaceX, worked in Tesla, know, like, deals that they do with, Drew Baglino or with,
Right.
the other ex-executives who have gone off to do other startups in the
Mhm.
area where they know, here's how we're changing the world. Here's another piece that I can carry forward, and then I can work with Elon, in the future on those things.
So I laughed in the beginning because you hadn't included Google in the potential winners in the AI race. And it turns out that Google's going to be a winner even if it's only even if they lose badly to SpaceX.
Right, because they have
They-
7%, they have 7% SpaceX. That's right.
right. So
And they also have Anthropic.
and if you take 7% of SpaceX and multiply that out,
Yeah.
if SpaceX does what we think is going to do, Google will probably make more money from that deal than anything else they've ever done.
Which, for people who say, well, that doesn't make sense,
Oh,
if you go back in history,
yeah,
Mitsubishi, Toyota, all these companies, Daimler, they all had pieces of Tesla. If they
yeah,
had kept their piece, they would have more money than the valuation of the company, right?
right. That's right.
So it has happened before, right? I think, SoftBank, other things like they had
Oh, yeah,
ownership and then they sold it.
yeah,
So if you hang on and Google's hanging on, then you can win by just only investing in the other guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is not the time to be bailing on this either one of these companies.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Well, it's great. It's going to be, busy, busy weeks because it's like um, people who think, well, all that's going to happen is unlocks and inclusion. It's like Elon's changing things fast on the ground.
Very fast. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Talk next time.